All right, so you guys remember that time, like 18 months ago where I went live 50 days straight, closed 125 contracts, all live here on YouTube and Facebook. Let's break down why and how I did that. And I want to start with the why first because I think that's important. Sometimes we don't really pay attention to why we do things and why we push ourselves into hitting a certain metric or a certain KPI. And then I'm going to break down how I did it. Okay. So bear with me. It's going to be story time at the beginning, and then we'll get into the tactical shit at the end. All right. This is to force you to watch the entire video. So I'm going to be paying attention to that watch time of this video. Make sure you stay around for the important stuff at the end. Don't skip because the why is important. All right. Now, you guys have heard me and Cassie briefly. We don't talk about it that often. About our short stint on being on a TV show, Zombie House Flipping on A&E. It was actually a really fun experience. I'm not going to lie. I actually missed certain aspects of being on TV. I wish our run had been longer, but prior to that, there was a decision that had to be made, which was, should we even do a TV show? Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, like, well, that seems like a no-brainer. I mean, I'm sure you make a lot of money. The exposure, Titanium University would have blown up. You would have made all kinds of money, right? Well, yes and no. There's a lot of things that go into that process. So how did the TV show even come about? Brent Daniels was actually the person that was reached out to and was asked if he would be interested in doing a TV show. Upon the initial conversation with him, they found out Brent lived in Phoenix. Brent really wasn't interested in doing TV. The media company, Pilgrim Media, actually wasn't interested in going that far west. They actually had a crew here in Texas. And so they said, do you know anybody in Texas that we should reach out to? And Brent said, there's this guy named RJ Bates. You should reach out to him. He's quite a character. So they actually watched my YouTube videos, just like you're watching right now, and said, that's the guy we want. We want that personality. So they reached out to me. We had Zoom interviews. We had to go through all these different kind of trials to see if we'd be a good fit. And they said, yeah, we're going to offer you the job. So they sent over a contract. Now, the contract negotiations took several months because there was all kinds of craziness in it, potentials of owning future businesses, all kinds of stuff that went along the way. And the other thing that came out is you really don't get paid a lot of money to be on a TV show. So the concern is, all right, we are going to be taking a lot of our time to go record this TV show, and you're going to be doing a lot of flips, and you're going to be getting these flips TV ready. You're not going to be making like a lot of money on these flips, because you're going to be more focused on making a TV show than you are flipping the house. Is this the best thing for our business? Now, I will say we went back and forth. I mean, it was very 50-50 on this, and that probably should have been a sign. But we thought to ourselves, hey, this is an opportunity for us to get our brand and ourselves out there more so than ever before. And we should be able to impact more people's lives if we take the opportunity to be on TV than if we don't. And if we don't do it, are we going to look back 20, 30 years from now and regret the decision to not do TV? And that's really where we made the decision, where it was like, hey, not many people in this life get the opportunity to do a TV show. And we have it right now. Let's do it. Let's do it. So we did. And quite frankly, it took up a significant amount of time. I mean, we were filming probably 5-6 days a week. Majority of that time was right in the middle of the day when we would normally be here doing our, wholesaling business, training our team, working with our team. And we were absent. We were never at the office. And due to the nature of how this season of Zombie House Flipping worked out, which was there was multiple teams. There was a Dallas team. We were the Fort Worth team. There was an Orlando team and a Tampa team. And what that meant is we were filming our individual episodes in our city, and then it would go to, the next 2 or 3 weeks would be the Dallas team, and then it would go to the Tampa team. We actually got picked to be the season premiere of season 5 of Zombie House Flipping, which was an honor, but it was also kind of a problem because they said, hey, it's going to air December 3rd, and we need you to finish at least one episode as quickly as possible. And there's a lot that goes into the editing and making sure that our voiceovers is correctly timed to the timing of the episode. So there was a lot of, pickups that we had to do, which was basically us standing outside in the weather and kind of re-saying things a certain way to make sure the timing was correct to the editing, making sure that we enunciated correctly, had enough life and energy. And it was intense. I'm not going to lie, because while we're doing that, we were also filming episodes at other properties. We actually had contractors really working on flips. So as much as you could say part of making a TV show about flipping a house is fake, there's also an extreme amount of reality that was also going on during this process. Our episode aired on December 3rd, and then that's when the unfortunate tweet went out proclaiming or accusing me of being a white supremacist because I was wearing a Viking hoodie that was actually gifted to me. And of course, I'm not a white supremacist. I don't stand with any of that. And quite frankly, the symbol doesn't even mean that. It's a Vault nut, which is a Viking symbol. It has nothing to do with white supremacy whatsoever. But the tweet went out. It alarmed A&E. A&E is owned by Disney. So this got pushed up to the Disney attorneys. And December 10th, a week after our first episode aired, the attorney for Disney essentially said, how many episodes have aired with this guy? And they were like, 1. And he was like, just pull the plug, fire, move on. We got other teams. And so they fired us and our entire crew. It was tragic. It was disheartening. It put me into somewhat of a depression just because I felt like I let so many people down. I mean, our crew was 35, 40 people. Between our contractors, the TV crew, the cameramen, the producers, the editors, all of those people lost their jobs because I wore a hoodie and someone tweeted about it. It was terrible. And I remember when we got fired from TV, it was, okay, the next day we showed back up at our office. We hadn't been here in a while. Some people actually were working here that we had never even really met. We didn't even know where they came from. Garrett being one of them. He actually got hired from my TikTok. He watched a ton of my TikTok videos, reached out to me. I said, yeah, you should definitely go talk to the team. And he got hired. And I never really even conversated with them. And now all of a sudden, here me and Cassie are. We're back. We're no longer on TV. We had to explain to our entire team how we just got fired and what we got fired for. Now, imagine if you work for someone that's never in the office and now they're back and they just told you they got fired for being accused of being a white supremacist on TV. It was extremely detrimental to our business. And oh, by the way, the wholesaling business was doing extremely poorly because Cassie and I were absent from the business. We were so focused on making a TV show and these flips that we had neglected our wholesaling business. So we get back, we're trying to find some sort of rhythm. And I can't really explain it more than for like 3 months, I was just in a daze. Like I wasn't myself. I wasn't creating content. It was hard to figure out. I felt like a fish out of water here at my own business, where it was like, things aren't going well. How are we going to overcome this? Like, how detrimental was this to our business? And there was a lot that we had to deal with on that side. It was like, hey, are we going to sue Disney? Or are we going to try to pursue any kind of legal action here? We had to get PR advice. It was insanity. And it was miserable. And I remember just sitting here thinking to myself, like, well, we've got to get the actual business back up and running. How do we do that? And then that's when we started thinking about what had we done in the past to dig ourselves out. Well, in 2020, when we were in a bad spot in our business, that's where we did the original 50 deals in 50 states in 50 days challenge. And that really changed the trajectory of our business. That's where cold texting became a huge part of our business, batch leads, how we were talking to sellers, how we were comping and underwriting and dispoing in all 50 states. And during that challenge, we did 86. Well, I locked up 86 deals in the 50 days in 49 states. So I remember going to Cassie and I said, I think I want to do the 50-day challenge again. And we didn't take a whole long time to develop. We didn't really plan it out. We didn't even announce it, strangely enough. We just said, we're just going to do it. We met with Speed to Lead. We met with Lead Zolo. And we said, hey, we really want this to be focused on PPL this time, not cold texting, which is going to be a big change for us in our business. And why would I want to do that? Well, a couple of different things. One, I wanted to insert myself into the game to make a change for the business for two different reasons. One, to get myself out of the funk that I was in, to eliminate the thought of what had happened with getting fired from the TV show and all of that negativity, get back into doing what I love, which is talking to sellers, locking up deals, doing acquisitions, and wholesaling properties. It's what I love to do. It's really what we do here. And so that was one of them. And the second reason why I wanted to do it is the same reason why I did it in 2020. I wanted the internet. I wanted anyone that was willing to watch those videos, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, to be my accountability partner. There were people that showed up every single day, all day during the 50-50-50. I wanted that. I wanted those accountability partners. I wanted them to work alongside me, mirror and copy what I was doing so they could find the same success that I was going to find during that. So we worked a deal out with Lead Zolo and Speed to Lead, and we created a template thumbnail, and we said, let's go. And we knew we wanted Cassie to be more involved. We kind of worked out a schedule on how that was going to work, and we decided, hey, every single day we're going to show up at the same time. We're going to end at the same time. And the goal is do as many deals as we possibly can in 50 days. And Cassie wanted to change the name. And I was the stubborn one. I said, no, we're going to keep it 50 deals in 50 states in 50 days. But the focus was not to get a deal in every state. The focus was not to do one deal in each state. The focus was how many deals can we do in 50 days? I don't care where they are. It's nationwide. Just come in here. And the focus is more on the process that I'm going to build out over these 50 days and the results that we could generate with staying laser focused and being consistent with that process. And so we got started. So that is why we did it, because one, we needed to resurrect the place that we had put our wholesaling business in. Two, I needed to get out of the funk that I was in from the traumatic events that took place with the TV show. And we wanted to change the way our business was being run. We wanted to insert PPL as being a bigger part of our business. We wanted a more streamlined closing process and find a way to build out that formula inside of our business. And so we did it. So how did I do 125 contracts in 50 days? Well, first and foremost, like I said, every single day I started at the exact same time. And I'm talking about, this wasn't every now and then it was 10:01 and then maybe the next day 9:59. No, it was 10 a.m. Central sharp every single day on time. Being on time is important. Getting a regular cadence for when you start your business is extremely important. So 10 a.m. Central, every single day I got started, and every single day I went to a minimum of 6 p.m. Central. Now, there was times I went a little bit longer. There was times where maybe the video went to 6 p.m. and maybe I had to step out for something family related. Maybe a kid had a game or a dance event or something like that. But Cassie would fill in and make sure that we went a minimum of 8 hours every single day. So that's number one. There was consistent time given to the day, and we knew exactly when that was going to take place. It never wavered from that. So 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central every single day. The other thing is, I showed up, I sat down right here in this chair, and I was consistent as a tree more than anyone out there can possibly be. It was sit down, what's up, guys? Here's what happened yesterday. Here's where we stand. And I started dialing. And every single day, I dialed all my new leads, then went to my follow-ups, then went to my call no answers, and dialed consistently back to back to back to back until the day was over. And then the next day, I would start over. So how do you do that? Well, one, your lead generation has to be consistent, and you can't waver on what lead generation you're going to do. We went into the challenge knowing that we were going to have three main sources of lead generation. I already told you about two: Lead Zolo and Speed to Lead. Now, we weren't using property leads at the time, but if I were to do it again today, property leads would be a part of that. So we had Lead Zolo, we had Speed to Lead, and then we had our virtual assistants cold calling batch leads data. Okay, so I would pull the list off of batch leads, I would upload that into Batch Dialer, and our VAs were generating those leads for me. Those are the three ways that we were going to generate leads. However, because I was putting this content out there on social media, we actually created a fourth way to generate leads. Because of the content, people would see me talking to sellers, and we actually ended up, I believe it was either 12 or 13 contracts from social media. That's from Instagram Reels and TikToks and Facebook Reels and YouTube Shorts, where they would watch those, see me talk to another seller and say, hey, I've got a property I need to sell. Would you be interested in buying mine? We got 12 to 13. It was either 12 or 13 contracts from that. That was crazy to me. But that being said, the reason why I was able to sit down here and be consistent with dialing every single day is because I did not waver off of the plan. We went into it knowing that that lead generation is what we were going to be, and we stuck to that commitment. Even there was a moment where Speed to Lead kind of dried up for us a little bit. Now, I will say, part of the reason why it dried up is because I was so focused on the amount of leads that I was getting, and my queue was so large that I stopped buying fresh leads from Speed to Lead. So I kind of wavered from the plan there a little bit, and we hit a little bit of a dry spell with Speed to Lead probably midway through the challenge. But the moment that I got back to buying the fresh leads, getting those in, and it wasn't just strictly follow-ups, we saw contracts start coming in again. So the consistency of the dialing was mirrored to the fact that I was not sitting here. I didn't waste time during the 8 hours where I was live thinking to myself, well, what am I going to do to generate leads? That plan was already set in place. This is why I always say, stop searching for unicorns. Like, we show you what systems work. You don't need to go find the unicorn. We've already said, this is what we do. These are the results, and we show you how we get those results. So during those 8 hours, when I'm dialing, I'm not sitting here thinking to myself about, well, should I stop using Lead Zolo and use, need to sell my house fast? Or do I need to go use Nurture Boost? Was a one that I got asked about over the past week or so. That was never a thought. The focus was sitting down and talking to motivated sellers. That was the work that was being put in every single day. The other thing is that I set a huge goal for myself. 50 as many deals as I could possibly do in 50 days. Now, when you set a goal like that, there is no finish line. You can't get to the 50 deal mark and say, okay, now I'm done. Now, I did have one metric that I definitely wanted to beat, and that was the 86 contract mark. That was the mark that I got in 2020. So, in my opinion, I had to sit there and think to myself, okay, well, in 2020, I did 86 contracts, and that was through cold texting. Okay, so that was a lot of list pulling, skip tracing, cold outreach. With the inbound leads that we've added in 2023, when I did this challenge, we should definitely eclipse 86 contracts. So that was metric number one that I had to eclipse. And then two was as many contracts as possible, because this is going to be a number that lives with me forever, really. I mean, I'm always going to look back and say, hey, I dedicated 50 straight days for a minimum of 8 hours. What was I able to accomplish? Because it's out there for everyone to see. So for me, it was a minimum of 100. I mean, that was kind of like, that's the bare minimum that I want to get. That's a huge goal. That's 2 a day. Okay. Now, you might look at that and you say, well, if you do it once, like one day, to get 2 contracts is actually fairly easy. Where it gets hard is in the middle, right? Days 23, day 24, where your energy for it starts wavering. You're so far away from the finish line, but yet you're definitely in it. This isn't fresh. You didn't just get started. Your energy starts wavering. You're in the 4th, 5th, 6th week of doing this. And you start having days where when no one answers the phone, it starts becoming frustrating. Having that mental focus starts becoming a struggle. And I'll be honest with you, one of the things that helped me overcome that is having moments of decompressing from being in the game. This is where I really leaned on Cassie. Now, sometimes you might think to yourself, well, Cassie brings the transaction coordination, the dispositions, the comping and underwriting, things that she's great in when it comes to our wholesaling business. And those things were extremely beneficial, but that was not what was most beneficial for me. What was most beneficial is Cassie, can you come sit here for 30 minutes, keep the phone dials going, keep calling motivated sellers, but give me 30 minutes to decompress. Get up, stretch my legs, walk around, go out on the balcony, look at the lake, and just maybe step away from an emotional phone call. Maybe step away when I've placed 10, 12, 15 phone calls in a row where no one's answered. These are things that really helped me along the way, because I didn't, quite frankly, do that in 2020. It was all on my shoulders, and I didn't really lean on her for more than 10 to 12 minutes at a time. So I got into a rhythm where it was basically, we would introduce ourselves, we would get started. I would go to about the 2-hour mark, and then Cassie would come sit in, and she would alleviate me for 20 to 30 minutes. And I'd come back, I'd do another 2-hour stretch. I'd take a break, I'd eat my lunch, come back, do another 2-hour stretch, quick break, and then I'd finish out the day for however long it would take. So I was essentially giving myself 3 breaks during the day. I think anyone that does this business should do the exact same rhythm and cadence. Now, maybe you don't have 8 hours to give yourself, but whatever it is, make sure you have a set time and make sure you're giving yourself like mental breaks, and it's scheduled and you stick to it, because it's important to get away from this for a second, because what can end up happening is you get on one emotional phone call. Maybe it's a seller whose brother just passed away in a murder. Maybe you talk to a seller whose husband was killed in a mass shooting. Maybe it's just someone whose father or mother just passed away and they inherited the property. All of those are specific examples that actually happened during this 50-day challenge. Now, coming out of those, that personally takes a toll on me, energy-wise and just mental capacity. Like, it just takes a lot to first of all, comprehend what that person is telling you. Think about how you want to respond. Showcase empathy without being fake. And then also be a problem solver for them without really overstepping any boundaries and saying something incorrectly. So anytime I had something like that, I would take a break and decompress from it to then come back. So the next seller that I talk to, if they have just as important of a situation going on, I'm on top of my game. I can make sure that I take their situation just as serious as the previous one, and I'm not letting that previous emotional phone call impact my abilities. So I was giving myself those breaks, and then also frustrating times, right? We had a realtor blow up a deal with two highly motivated sellers that needed to sell the property to us. He blew up the deal. Me and him got into it. The video is on my YouTube channel. This realtor blows up a deal, something like that. And that one, again, I needed to decompress and I needed to walk away from it. The other thing is, on the flip side, when the momentum was there, when it was like, hey, I just got a signed contract, that's where I stayed in the pocket. I'm not taking a break right now. I'm going to keep dialing because it's when you got that momentum going. There's nothing better than you get a signed contract and then you get another seller that's motivated on the next dial, because now you're carrying that momentum. It's just like in a sports game, baby. I just scored a touchdown. We just got an interception. We're going for the kill shot right now. We're going to get another one. That's how I view it. I want to ride that momentum. And so there's quite a few times where you would see where actually another video that I've got where I think I get 3 contracts in 30 minutes, back to back to back, riding that momentum and carrying it over. Because one of the things that I've noticed is when I get a contract early on, especially in a day or during a live video or something like that, the following calls after that are so much easier. You've almost kind of removed the pressure from yourself where it's like, I've already won the day because I got a property under contract. The rest, it's easy to listen to the seller. It's easy to kind of relax yourself and really think about what is the seller saying. It's easier to deliver awkward silence when you're not feeling that pressure of like, I need to close this one. This is also why it's important to make sure you're giving yourself plenty of time to work during the day. Now, I get some of you have limited time availability. Find a way to give yourself more time. Maybe that means you have to call on weekends. Saturday and Sunday is your time. Maybe it means you need to wake up earlier or work later in the night and work a different time zone. Whatever it is, give yourself enough time to where you can capture that momentum and then ride that momentum. Because that was one of the things that really compounded the results was when the day in Rhode Island. I mean, it was like right off the bat, had some killer conversations, and then throughout the day, the momentum just carried over and over and over again, okay? Ultimately, one of the biggest takeaways that you can have about the results of 125 contracts in 50 days was consistency in the lead generation and consistency in the dials. That, above all else, the closer's formula, if you want to know how I taught those sellers, you can go watch the videos about the closer's formula. You can go watch the videos during the 50-day challenge. Those are important. But ultimately, anybody can mirror those results if you are just consistently showing up with lead generation and talking to the seller and placing those dials. Because that's where people, they lack. You look back and you go, well, RJ, how many leads did you have? The sweet spot of leads inside of my queue was about 300, because that's about how many dials I could place and no one answered. So if I always had that, I knew I could go through the entire day and I could place those 300 dials. And if no one answered, at least I was always dialing someone new. That's where I wanted to sit. And I made sure I touched those leads consistently over and over and over again. And you would see where days 30 through 50, where I was closing leads that I had been dialing for 35 straight days, where it's like, this lead came in at the beginning of the challenge, and now we're getting them on the phone. Now we're being able to close those deals. These are the things that separate our results from our competition, is the consistency that we're willing to put in, the trust that we have in the systems that we use. Lead Zolo, Speed to Lead, Property Leads, comping on Privy and PropStream, pulling data on batch leads and putting it into Batch Dialer, and using Integrity of Virtual Assistants. This is what separates us, because we weren't ever thinking about that. We weren't sitting there and watching someone else's YouTube video or listening to podcasts or distracting ourselves. It was during this time, I'm going to start at 10 a.m. and I'm not going to leave here until 12. And then I'm going to give myself a short break to decompress. And it's just as important to make sure that you're decompressing as hard as you are during that 2-hour stretch. And then I'm right back to it. And throughout the time, you guys just go watch one of the days. You will see the consistency within the action, the consistency on staying focused on getting those results. And then when you look back at it, you go, holy cow, 125 contracts in 50 days. That is unbelievable. It is, until you actually sit down and you consistently put in that work and you realize it's really not. That's not that much. I mean, what is that? Like 3-point-something deals a day? I mean, there were some sellers that sold us like 4 properties, 3 properties on one dial. It was just not getting downtrodden with the voicemails and the no answers and having to call someone 15, 20, 25 times in a row without getting an answer. I wouldn't sit there and just give up on that. People ask me all the time, how long should we call a seller before we give up on it? You never give up on it. Keep dialing until they either sell you the house or they tell you, fuck off and leave me alone. Keep going. Get them on the phone. They gave us their information because they, at one point in time, thought to themselves they might want to sell their house. That is what we are looking for. And so because of that attitude and that mindset during the 50-day challenge, that's what led to these results. And I'm extremely proud about it. I'm proud about this, and we've been talking about it ever since we've accomplished it. Why? Because it wasn't just during those 50 days. The 50 days is what was alive for you guys to see. But that culture is what exists at Titanium. And that culture now is spreading not just at Titanium Investments, but throughout Titanium University. This is why I'm so proud of Brandon Clark and Tyler Osborne for going live every single day. And they put out a massive goal of saying, our goal is to go live until we make $100,000. That's the goal that they set for themselves. Why? Because there's no better accountability partner than random strangers on the internet. Haters show up. People say, what are you doing? You shouldn't comment that way. You should have said this. You should have did that. And then you find out they've never closed a deal. Put yourself out there. Put yourself out there. Go out there. Take that consistent action. Be consistent within your lead generation, and the results will follow. So to reiterate, why did we do this? Because we were in a bad spot, because bad things happened to us. And instead of just sitting here and being depressed about it and doing nothing and just bitching and moaning about getting fired from TV over something that we should have never been fired about, we said we are going to go take massive, consistent action to change the trajectory of our business. And because of that, we were able to get the 125 contracts in 50 days. But more importantly, we reset the entire trajectory of Titanium Investments. And not only that, but everyone that is a part of Titanium University. That's where the closers formula was created, was during this 50-50-50. That is where our relationship with Lead Zolo and Speed Lead really went to the next level, because it was like, not only can we go live for an hour and close the deal, but we can do it consistently every single day for 50 days straight and get these types of results. Why can't every single one of you go watch those videos, buy the exact same leads, talk to them the exact same way that I do, listen, ask questions, find the deals, don't manufacture the deals, and get the exact same results? There's no reason why you cannot do the exact same thing. So why did we do it? Because I wanted to show you that anyone can do this no matter what. Now, if you watched the 50-day challenge, I'd love for you to leave me a comment. Let me know, what was your favorite moment? What was your favorite takeaway from the 50-day challenge? If you got any value from this, give me a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'll see you guys tomorrow.